got buttress roots, you'd want to remove them. Buttress roots basically on some trees, you have like the roots coming out, you see. Yeah. You just remove them just so your work basically gives you what you want to fell. You know, you don't want to have just the roots making it, you know, make it twice as wide. Therefore, it's just, you know, you're kind of not really getting your felling cut properly. But yeah, these trees are all right.
This is not like what I was saying. If this was further up here and coming down,
but we're all right. So yeah, we're going that way now. So I'm going to put my gob cut in, which is basically that chunk of cheese that's being removed. It's good. Which bit, sorry?
The bit about the third.
All right, yeah, okay. So you want to come this way a third with your gob cut. Like I was saying, if it's any more than half, you know, the tree could potentially go anywhere when you cut it. So yeah, watch out for that.
Brilliant.
So if I put my gob cut in, if everyone wants to kind of stand behind me, because of the nature of the timber, it should only allow it to go one way or the other. Yeah. And we're hoping it's going to go just the one way. So
over towards the courser.
Towards the courser.
Yeah, for insurance purposes.
Extra points if you get the car.
Oh yeah, with the steel saws as well.
Get away!
You've got this line here, which is basically an alignment for your cuts. So if I'm thinking I want it to fell that way, you know, I want to start lining up where I want the tree to fall with this black line here.
Okay.
So yeah, that's your kind of way of going by it. So I'm going to do my gob cut now. Hopefully the chainsaw's sharp. Again, you want to do, you know, say if you did your flat cut too far, you're essentially, sorry, not really gobbing it at all. Okay. You know, you're just cutting in from two sides. It won't necessarily fall, you know, like I say, you have the problem of going against the way you want it to.
Is that 45 degrees now? Yep.
Right,
Action.
so yeah, we're doing our back cut, which is just a straight cut. You know, obviously, you know, you've got your line there, how you've cut, you want to pretty much be coming straight through like that. And what you were saying about your hinges, so your hinges an equal segment, do you know what I mean? Okay. Because if you started coming in at an angle and your hinges off, the tree could then start falling at an angle. And if you start coming completely, you know, cut the hinge off a complete one side, it could even start going to the side.
Okay. But your back cut's at a higher level than the
yeah. So I mean, you know, I want to come a good third into it, so that, you know, the gob does its job. If you come too low, you know, like I say, there's no point in the gob being there. It's what we've done there is, you know, basically impair the structure in a certain way. So when it gets weak enough, this hole here, you know, it will just want to go that way. But what I'm going to do with this bigger tree is, and to play it safe, is I'm going to do my cut. You know, I'll probably go about halfway through, and then I'm going to put a wedge in as well and just knock that in. And then what that does is, obviously when you're cutting with a chainsaw, you're creating a gap, and that gap could always be what comes back. You know, I mean, sometimes it won't necessarily fall back, you know, and generally you'll feel it pinch your saw before you go anywhere near enough. But if you get a wedge in, it just means that the gap's always going to be on your side. It's, you know, the tree will never lean back, you know.
Once that gap's filled up, it's very difficult to get a wedge in there, so it's better to put it in there first before it actually collapses down.
So yeah, I'm going to do that, and then like I say, I can keep my saw in there as long as, you know, it's away from the wedges. I can carry on cutting with the wedges in, you know, and you see what I do is I'll probably do a bit more cutting, knock the wedge in a bit more cutting, wedge, and then when I feel I can comfortably fell it with the wedge, you know, I turn the saw off and I'll give it a few whacks with the axe and hopefully she'll come down.
What happened?
But the tree's always going to be unpredictable, you know, I mean, wind or like I say, decay or whatnot.
So you don't look at the tree to see if it's moving, you kind of...
Well, like I say, you want to do your cut, you want to be eyeing up, you know, like I say, from once I still, I mean, really, you guys shouldn't, you should all be standing this side of the tree, you know, now the cut's in. Certainly when I start doing my back cut, you should all be behind me. But if it starts pinching, I mean, first of all, it's your own safety, you know, I mean, if the tree's going to fall on a courser or smash your chainsaw, it does that, you know, you want to think about your safety, you want to watch it, you know, like I said before, you cleared your zone, you want to make sure you're not tripping over as you try to give it legs. If you're comfortable, you feel the tree's safe and it's pinching the saw, you know, I mean, really you want to try and get a wedge in there. I mean, this is why, you know, it's sometimes used to have things like, you know, your winches and whatnot, because it just allows you to kind of manhandle the tree a bit more. But yeah, I mean, your initial safety is most important. I mean, seriously, you know, if the tree's there and you can't get a wedge in or whatever, sometimes it's just better to, you know, come away. And I mean, the wind might even bring it down, you know, or whatever. But just, I don't know, just don't take risks, really, you know.
No.
No, I lost her about half an hour ago. Sorry about that, lad.
That's all right. We'll keep an eye out. Yeah.
Careful of the falling tree. Maybe we should have put those signs up.
Right, so that's my saw in. I'm not sure if you can see from the back here. The cut's going a little bit at an angle.
Yeah, it always does.
It always does. It's the bar. I think it's playing up a bit. It shouldn't be too much of a problem. Again, you guys have got the small saws anyway, so it shouldn't be an issue.
Did that start pinching then?
No.
I can actually see that tree.
It moved at the top.
It's almost good to go by itself.
Yep.
So what I'm going to do now,
Just run it. Just so we didn't see it.
oh, we'll keep going.
Look. See the crack?
No.
It's getting
Behind that bird's mouth thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
Watch for the courser.
Crash bang wallop.
That is the bollocks.
So that's the hinge there, is it?
That is the hinge there, yeah.
So it's not a massive hinge, is it?
Like I say, you know, it's not that big. I mean, usually, you know, I mean, to be honest, my cut is maybe a little bit high.
Right.
But not a problem. You know, we have wedges, you know, as a backup anyway. But generally, you know, you're only looking at about 10–20% base. You know, you've got to think how the tree's sitting. So, you know, maybe it's good to start from the edge, reduce the weight. You know, remove all these branches, and then this one can obviously come off. It's not doing anything. This one, and then I can see what I'm working with, and then, you know, I can properly kind of scope up everything that's going on. because you know, within forestry, tension and compression is actually one of the biggest dangers. It's actually called dead man's chair, and what it is when you do your fell, you don't do your levels right, and the tree splits. And what happens is it splits. The bottom would kind of come out towards you.
Yeah.
And it kind of, as the motion of the tree comes down, the bottom flies out, and it sends the operator flying back. And I've heard stories, people coming to their mate, who's like 15-20 foot away from the tree, he's felled, and apparently people sitting there like that and they're just dead. The tree's flung them 20 foot away from the bottom of the tree, they're knocking out, and with that force, it's just killed them straight away. It is things to be aware of, which is, like I was saying, it's good to have your zone free to run and be aware which way it's going to fall, and just be aware of these things, really. If you can put a wedge in it, it may take an extra 30 seconds, but it's safer, in my eyes. I think that's always worth doing,
Whilst you were chopping off those branches, it seemed to me you always had your right knee either on the floor, I guess, so you weren't going to put a chainsaw through it, or was that just comfort?
Just comfort like this.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's just comfort. It's another thing you get taught, really. It's just, if you're, I mean, again, I barely ever do it because, same with all your safety features, you just don't do it after a while, but it's just your skeletal kind of, if you're leaning over with a weight, they do say try and get close. They actually say it'd be like this, but again, I find that impractical, because if you're taking down trees all day, to get up to every single branch and be like this, it's just...
That looked great on video, by the way.
Yeah, good.
It's kind of manual handling though, it's like carrying stuff. Just push it into run. No, I think the chain weights off. You try and rev. Right, so you're going to put it onto run. Put it on the floor. That's it. Now pick it up and you're away. You always rev it up before you start. If you rev it up before you start, what you need to do, if you're watching, so now if you want the best thing is take it up and now come from underneath. Pick it up.
Pull. Do one more.
You're going to film this, I think. stuck, you go to it, just make sure you change both points. Yeah. In case you yank in, you know.